Hi, thanks for tuning in to this week's episode 6. This is an original podcast based upon my books. You can get them on Amazon or go to my website, www.isanjones.com, where you can click the links to purchase them. In this week's podcast, I talk about synergies and levitation related to my experiences. First will be synergy. Synergy, the implications of it. Like a radiant flower, the blooming of a veil is reveal. Reveal can be to some as revelation. The blooming of the veil is to uplift the spirit where there is dialogue. The dialogue that's discussed comes through as divine instruction. Divine instruction inspires most folks. It releases its energy through the synergies. Once struck, there's wisdom that will come out to bloom once again underneath the veil. Synergies are like the blooming of the veil because it transfers all thought. There's energy that's required for the most part, but that energy could be sapped due to dulled senses. A sensory perception would be the format whereby everything that's unearthed could come true. Veils are just pieces of paper revealing with ink what we want to say. Therefore, when there is wisdom, we will write it down. That's what it means to become as divinely struck. It would be letting the synergies pass through you. Revelation is a myth. It takes courage to bring it forth, providing all of the people will accept it. There is exceptional wisdom and there is transitional insight. Both are exceptions to the rule, and you need to be divinely struck to receive them. The implications of synergies are that the rustic spirits must flourish. Emblazoned with prior knowledge, having music as its foundation, we seek to dance on the floor so that whatever elevates could lift us, notwithstanding that elevation leads to levitation, where we could be greeted with all of our myths, letting them pass like a forest whose thoughts have become clearer as leveling of passage at first, which was to lift, only to find at each elevation there could be more. God transitions the spirit for reception. Whom we seek, we shall find. And even when there is no elevation, levitation will find us. It will be at the boundaries where the spirits cross. Spirits levitate. They can mediate our passing transitions, transitioning us to become at each level who we are. We are God's beings holding on to a spirit. Spirits beaming from what's held inside. We have to do this with a plan. That plan is called a planet, and it will be what's beneath it that provides the energy sources. To elevate is to lift, uplift. Levitation is to see the reality of things we really weren't supposed to see ahead of our time. Those are my thoughts on synergies. And to wrap it up, the implications of synergies were to radiate, To radiate is to shine. When we shine, we can give our examples, showing the world what it's made of, and those could be the implications. Now, this is not complex. It comes from a simple format. We can die in our struggle, and we can live in our purpose. All things we will see in due time, whether it's through our synergies or our levitation or our daily living. But we must learn it now or see it later as divine wisdom runs its course. Look for the formats that bring us closer to God, and in that we will find the wisdom. Thank you for listening to my thoughts on synergies as they relate directly to my experiences as recorded in my writings, in my books. Now, we'll talk about levitation. What about levitation? Is it real? Now, we don't fly because our bodies aren't designed to. That has been left for the birds that have wings. Aerodynamics is another configuration that baffles us. It is defying gravity to have gone somewhere when you levitate. Levitation goes right along with ghosts, angels, and aliens. Why? It's because it's how they communicate with us. On one occasion, I was taken to a spot. There was an open door as an entryway. I had stepped into the other room. Halfway awake, halfway asleep, I wouldn't call it that. As my memory serves me well, I knew exactly what was taking place. I was shown this spot without ever having moved, not from the room I was in, nor my bed. So it could be as some form of levitation. I don't know. Levitating our bodies with synchronous material interactions. That's the best way for me to describe it. Because we dream all the time, of course. So, of course, we would experience them as out-of-body experiences, although in some cases we could be awake. People have been prone to confuse the two issues. I think it is because those aliens want us to remain confused as to how they would contact us. The more confusion that centers around this, the less we will know. It was like the birds not wanting to take the pictures, as I explained in last week's podcast. Their actions to me were nefarious, speculative at best, mind-boggling to say the most, and confusing to say the least. And that's how they want us to communicate whenever in a sphere with them. It is as if the sphere, within the sphere, we can be held, but we can't get their figures or forms consciously. Like I couldn't get those birds to show up in my pictures. Just like I can't get those aliens to show me who they really are. So what have I really seen? That leads me to believe that it's the sphere, S-P-H-E-R-E, the sphere of what's happening, what you have been chosen for to be taken there to see. That could have been the whole message. It was never about what they should look like. Now, I've drawn out the patterns for you of ghosts, angels, aliens, as if in spheres of levitation while they were in communication. More of those details are in my books. Now, since 2010, when I began my writings, none of those things have ever stopped. Just when I could be going about my normal daily life, and I do that every day, something strange could come just out of the blue. I promise you, though, they usually start out as my dreams that have turned into nightmares. So I am not just giving you ghost stories. Don't view them as that. I am giving you the reels, REELS, of my life. Real-time impressions of things that have taken place even after I have dreamt them. But you will have to take the good, the bad, and the ugly. So just brace yourself, because they are real life stories. And in those books, I do talk a lot about clairvoyance and visionaries in some of my books. I also point out those things I could give references to as having very special meanings, like world affairs have been documented. And I seem to be tied to what naturally goes on with people, especially those that are close to me. And I didn't say that I levitated because I could. I am not a bird, nor do I have wings. It appeared that I was brought into the realm whereby levitation does exist. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for next week's podcast, where we will continue with the list.